Hello and welcome back to the BYC Collective. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install our custom LOD and baking tool for Quixel Megascans. So if you come over to the Megascans custom LOD and baking tool post, hit download source files. It will bring you to this page. Just hit download. And once we have the files downloaded, what we're going to do is go over to our downloads folder. And what we need to do is also go to our Houdini preferences folder. So I am on Mac. For me, it's on my SSD hard drive under users, Mark Whitelaw, library preferences, Houdini. So what I'm going to do is just copy over the files to my Houdini preferences folder and double click to extract the files. Now, what we're going to do is just go to number 1, the instructions over here. So what we need to do is add the following string to your houdini.env file. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm using Houdini 18. So let's go to our houdini.env file over here, open it with a text editor. I'm using Sublime. Here it is there. So what we need to do is go, just say custom LOD tool, and let's paste this. So now what it says is inside of the inverted commas, it says path to MS custom LOD version 2 folder that you just downloaded. Okay, so that means we are looking for the location of this file. And that's why I kind of put it within the Houdini preferences folder so that you don't have to move it around or accidentally delete it or something like that. So I need the path to this file. And because Mac makes it a little bit hard, I'm going to just open up a new terminal, and I'm going to drag this folder in here, and it gives me the location. So I think on PC, you can just right click and go to properties or something, and you'll be able to get this. I'm just going to hit right click and say copy. Now inside of my houdini.env, I'm going to paste that. So Python path is equal to this folder, and that folder is inside of the inverted commas. So let's save this and exit. Now what I can do is open up Houdini. So here is Houdini, and step 2 is we need to add this to a shelf tool. So I'm just going to right click and say copy, and I'm going to just make this nice and big for us. I'm going to come over to my shelf. You can do it on any shelf, but these are just some of my custom things that I have. Right click, say new tool, and I'm just going to say custom LOD and custom LOD, leave the icon, you can change that. And because this is a script, which we're just going to paste there, we don't really need to worry about the context or hotkeys. So that's about it. Hit apply and accept. And we have successfully installed the custom LOD and baking tool. So now if I just go over and make sure my Megascans plugin is enabled, I'm going to import some geometry. So I have this just over here. What you are going to want to do is just check your download settings and make sure high poly source is enabled. So when I go to my export settings, there I have high poly source. So let's hit export. Here is my asset. Okay, so they've kind of changed things in Bridge now. So you do actually have access to the high poly source inside of the subnet over here. There it is. So if I go to my LOD switch, 0 is high and 1 will be LOD 0. So see how much detail we have here? And if we switch over, like that is the highest LOD that they are giving us. So this tool allows us to create our own custom one, which is higher resolution than this. So if we look at this right now, let's see, there are 2 million primitives. Why is that check? Sorry, yeah, 2 million primitives, and this one is only 7,000. So no wonder it doesn't look as great. So with our tool now, if we just go to the top, highlight our subnet and hit Custom LOD, we get this little tool over here. So this is essentially condensing down the process that I showed in one of my previous tutorials. So for poly reduce percentage, I'm going to leave that at about 90. Because there's 2 million, this has a little bit of a different calculation. So I think the output 80 is usually a pretty good place to start, but because this is so small, such a small asset, let's do 90 or 85 just to show you. So what this tool allows you to do is bake out a custom LOD, which is a higher resolution than the default 0 that Quixel is giving us. And it also allows us to generate some new maps based off of the difference between the high poly source and the LOD 0. So I think if I can go back here, to illustrate this, we're basically trying to take this texture or this amount of detail. We're trying to take this amount of detail and bake it down to this geometry here, to put it very simply. So let's give it a go with our subnet selected. Here we go. Now we can output additional displacement maps, vector displacement, tangent space displacement, other maps to bake. We can do shading normals, tangent space normals, cavity occlusion, a bunch of really nice things here. So these are additional displacement maps. And just to show you, let me just enable everything. So here we have our resolution. I'm just going to do 2K for the speed of things. And with these additional options, I'm going to enable automatically create reader nodes and update export paths. So essentially what this button is doing is once it's finished baking, it will automatically create new texture reader nodes, which once it's finished, it will come into this asset material, and we are going to be creating these RS texture nodes with all of these that we create here automatically. This feature is only available in Redshift. You can still use the tool, but it just won't automatically pull them in for you. This automatically creates reader nodes, and this allows us to temporarily use a 1K resolution map, which it just bakes out quickly. And then once the 8K is finished, Houdini will prompt you and ask you if you want to switch over to those textures now. So let's give it a go. I'm going to set this back to 2K. We'll use the 1K resolution and automatically create these nodes. So let's go. It's currently baking out. It gave me this. It says baking out 85% LOD now, because we can, say we are working and we don't want, we bake out 85%, but actually, hey, I did want 90% or a different value. You can run it again and the tool will generate LODs and texture maps with the percentage in its name. So you can run it multiple times, but just keep in mind that it will keep baking out new maps and not override the old ones. Okay, so it's finished doing the 1K maps as well as our custom LOD, so we can start using it and rendering it and just knowing that the resolution of the textures will be updated. So it's still baking in the background, and if we go here, we can check on the progress, and we have access to everything that has been done. But for us as artists working on these things, we just jump in here, and we should be able to find our input 0 has now been updated with the custom LOD that we just baked. So now if I switch between the two, whoop. So that was the Quixel Megascans default LOD, and this is our custom LOD. So you'll notice that we retain quite a bit of the hard edges there, as opposed to this one, which just kind of slumps out. And also our primitive count it's only 55,000 polys, so this really isn't going to damage the bank. Okay, so I got the little prompt and pop-up telling me that my 2K resolution maps are finished baking. My reader nodes are currently set to the 1K maps, so it's asking me if I would like to update that, so I'll say yes. And I get the notification, reader nodes updated successfully. Great. So what that means is if I jump into my asset over here and go to my material, you'll see here are all of the different maps that have been created and just kind of set up a little bit by default. So it's taken the displacement maps and plugged them in. And we have all of these fun little things to play around with. So you'll see here that it has added new Redshift texture nodes and updated the file paths. If you're wondering where all of this is, if we go to the folder where our asset is, so where the current textures are being read from, that's where everything is being downloaded to. So I have everything here. Here is the high poly asset. Here is the 85% poly asset that we created. And we should have a bunch of our custom textures. So here are the textures. I'm not going to go through everything, but some notable mentions are the normals. This is where a lot of the detail can be brought back, especially that kind of rocky surface that you're looking for. It's all in here. Multiply some additional noise over top of this and plug it into your asset, and I find it gives you a very nice, it brings back or just gives you the detail that you are kind of looking for in places. Feel free to go through and check everything. Use them in weird different combinations. There are a lot of nice maps and some extra details for you, like occlusion, and that's pretty much it. So we have created a custom LOD, which is a higher resolution than the default Megascans LOD. We've created some additional texture maps to play around with and help make our assets look a lot better. And we have installed it as a custom Python script in our Houdini shelf. That's about it, guys. Download the tool today. Hopefully it helps, and we will catch you next time.